The feeling in the big courtroom was very tense that morning. Everyone could feel it. Judge Harrison was known for being very mean to people who had different opinions than him. But today he was acting even worse. "How many times do I have to say it?" he yelled at the guard. "In my courtroom the temperature stays at 67 degrees. Not even a little higher. If someone is cold, they can bring a coat." Then he looked at the lady typing everything and shouted, "Tell her that if she can't type faster, I'll fire her before lunch." The judge was making strange rules and being very rude. Everyone who worked there was very nervous. People sitting in the room to watch were quiet as Judge Harrison came in, already looking very angry. "Clear the front row," he shouted. He pointed at some older people who were sitting there. They were wearing pins that showed they liked Trump. "Put them in the back so I don't have to see them." It was clear the judge was using his power unfairly, but no one was brave enough to speak up, until today. "Your Honor," said his assistant quietly, "Attorney General Bondi is here to help the person being blamed." The judge's face turned mean. "Oh great," he said in a nasty voice. "Another blonde lady trying to act like a lawyer in my courtroom." He pulled at his robe looking annoyed. "What's next? Will she try to read the Constitution to me?" Some lawyers in the room laughed just to make the judge happy. Then everything changed when Pam Bondi walked into the room. She looked calm and strong. But Judge Harrison only saw someone else to be mean to. "Listen carefully, Miss Bondi," the judge said in a mocking tone. "Your fancy title means nothing here. Looking nice and talking about the Bible won't help your client." Bondi didn't get upset. She stood tall and said, "I'm here to show proof and speak for justice, Your Honor. Nothing more, nothing less." The judge laughed in a mean way. "Let me guess, more silly stories from your side?" He leaned forward. "I've beaten better lawyers than you, Miss Bondi. But go ahead, show us your so-called proof." Bondi gave a small smile and opened her briefcase. Whatever she had inside, the judge had no idea that today's case was going to become the biggest case of his life. Bondi's helper stood and began to talk. "Your Honor, we are here today because my client, Mrs. Evelyn, is a respected woman who owns a small business and also helps others with a charity." "Skip the good girl story," the judge shouted. "She's being blamed for lying about money. That's all I care about." "Your Honor," the lawyer kept trying, "Mrs. Evelyn's 20 years of helping people is very important." "I said skip it," the judge yelled again, banging his hammer. "I don't want to hear some sad story about church and family values." Bondi stood up slowly. "Your Honor, may I speak? The work Mrs. Evelyn does and how she helps the community are important to understand." "Oh, I understand just fine," the judge interrupted rudely. "You people think you can hide your lies behind charity and religion. Not in my courtroom." Bondi stayed calm. "The proof will show that every money move was done correctly and legally." "Correctly what?" the judge sneered, leaning forward. "Correctly hidden? Correctly tricked? I've seen enough of these tricks to know exactly what's going on." "Have you, Your Honor?" Bondi asked quietly. That made the judge stop for a second. "And how many of these cases have you actually seen?" she asked. The judge's fingers held his hammer tighter. "Be careful, Miss Bondi. You're getting very close to being in trouble." Bondi looked right at him as she took out her first piece of proof. The judge's hand shook a little when he picked up his glass of water. Bondi noticed. "This is Exhibit A, Your Honor," she said, pointing to papers. They were bank papers showing that Mrs. Evelyn's charity got all the money the right way. "Objection!" shouted the lawyer on the other side. "These papers weren't shared before." The judge gave a small smile. "Trying to sneak in papers, Miss Bondi? I expected better." "Page 47 of the shared files, Your Honor," Bondi answered calmly, showing a paper with a signature. "It was sent to your office 3 weeks ago." The judge's face got tight. "That can't be. I looked at everything and didn't see it." "Maybe," Bondi said quietly, "you should ask your helper about the files that came in on March 15th. The helper's face turned white. The judge gave her a warning look, then turned back to Bondi. "These papers can't be used." "On what rule, Your Honor?" Bondi asked. "Because I said so," the judge shouted. "I'm the judge here. Or did you forget that while showing off?" "I didn't forget anything, Your Honor," Bondi said firmly. She said "Your Honor" in a way that made the judge look even more angry. "And I didn't forget the rules either. The law clearly says." "Don't you dare try to teach me the law," the judge shouted. "I've been doing this longer than you've been out of school, Miss Bondi. One more word and I'll have you kicked out of this courtroom." The people watching started to shift in their seats. Even the other lawyers seemed unsure now. But Bondi stayed calm. She took out another paper. Before you do that, Your Honor, you might want to look at Exhibit B. Something in her voice made the judge stop. He was about to hit his hammer again but froze. Your Honor, Bondi said as she laid out more papers. The money records clearly showed. Stand up straight when you speak, the judge snapped, even though Bondi was already standing perfectly. And speak clearly. No lawyer tricks here. As I was saying, Bondi continued calmly, these records show that all the money— Let me be clear, Miss Bondi, the judge said in a low, angry voice. In this room I decide what is heard. I decide what matters. I am the law here. Do you understand me? Crystal clear, Your Honor, Bondi said. But the law also says— The law? The judge laughed loudly. Don't talk to me about the law in my courtroom. I've forgotten more about law than you'll ever learn. The other lawyer looked uncomfortable again. One more word about rules, the judge warned, and you'll be sitting next to your client in jail. That's not a threat. That's a promise. Your Honor, Bondi said, still calm, are you saying you will put the Attorney General in jail for showing proof in court? The judge's face twisted in anger. In here, you're just another lawyer who doesn't know her place. One more word and I'll have the guard clear the whole room. Try me. Everyone in the room went silent as Bondi picked up one more paper. Then maybe, Your Honor, she said, you should see this before you decide. The judge's eyes narrowed. Are you challenging me, Miss Bondi? Because you won't like what happens next. Before we go on, Bondi said calmly, I want to talk about how this courtroom has been acting lately. Acting lately? The judge yelled, slamming his hammer down. The only thing happening is you wasting my time. Sit down or be removed. Your Honor, Bondi said without moving, the defense has the right to— Rights? The judge's voice became even scarier. Let me explain something about rights in my courtroom. I gave you an order, Judge Harrison said loudly. Are you also saying I'm not in charge here? Your Honor, Miss Bondi said. Her voice was calm even though the room felt tense. Before you have me taken out, maybe you should think about what it means when a federal judge tells people to arrest the Attorney General in front of everyone, for no good reason. No good reason? Judge Harrison laughed in a way that didn't sound nice. I am the reason. What I say goes in this courtroom. Officers, I'm telling you one last time. Actually, Your Honor, Miss Bondi said calmly. Her voice felt like it made the whole room cooler. There's something else you should know about the rules in your courtroom. Judge Harrison's hand stopped in the air. His gavel was shaking. He had just noticed Bondi had a sealed envelope in her hand that he hadn't seen before. Miss Bondi, the judge said with a sharp voice. This is your last chance. Do what I say, or I'll have you taken out in handcuffs. Interesting words, Your Honor, Bondi said. She was still calm and not scared. Let's talk about this thing you call authority. There's nothing to talk about, the judge shouted. He banged his gavel again. I already made my ruling. Did you? Bondi asked quietly. Because I don't remember you looking at the evidence. You seem more interested in yelling and scaring people than checking the facts. The judge's face got red with anger. How dare you question your authority? Bondi said. Yes, we all know that's what matters most to you. Her voice stayed polite, but there was something sharp in it. It made the judge stop for a second. But let's talk about Mrs. Evelyn's case. You know, the real facts that you seem to be avoiding. I'm not avoiding anything, the judge said, but he kept glancing at the envelope on Bondi's desk. Then maybe you can explain, Bondi said, holding up a paper, why every piece of evidence that could help Mrs. Evelyn suddenly disappeared from the court files? Or why some money records were sealed for no reason? Those records were sealed under my rules, the judge shouted. I make the decisions here. No one is above me. People in the courtroom gasped. Even the other lawyer looked shocked. But Bondi was still calm. Tell me, Your Honor, Bondi said. Why do you care more about being in charge than doing what's right? The judge's face turned purple. Officers, get her out of my courtroom. Right now. And anyone who doesn't listen will be in trouble too. But the officers didn't move. They just stared at the envelope Bondi was now slowly opening. I'll tell you what's in there, the judge said, trying to sound brave. Just more silly lies from a troublemaker. Actually, Your Honor, Bondi said, these are the original papers from Mrs. Evelyn's case. The ones that disappeared last week. The judge's face twitched. That's not possible. Those files were— He stopped talking too late. Were what? Bondi asked. Destroyed? Hidden? Or maybe moved into your private filing cabinet? You don't get to question how I organize my files. The judge's voice cracked. I run this court how I want. Even if that means making evidence disappear? Bondi said. Even if that means picking which cases get thrown out? Judge Harrison slammed his hands on the table. One more word, Miss Bondi, and I'll make sure you lose your job. I have powerful friends, people you can't even imagine. Interesting that you mention friends, Your Honor, Bondi said, saying the word carefully. The judge suddenly looked pale. Would you like to tell everyone here about your meeting last Thursday night? What meeting? You're making things up, the judge shouted. The one in the parking garage at the Liberty Building, Bondi said calmly. 3rd floor. 11:47 p.m. The judge's eyes went wide. You were spying on me? That's not allowed. Officers, arrest her. Now. But the officers still didn't move. Bondi began placing photos on the evidence table. These photos, she said, laying them out, tell a very interesting story. I will not be blackmailed in my own courtroom, the judge yelled. He looked out of control. Officers, take those photos away. That's an order. Blackmail? Bondi said with a raised eyebrow. These are just photos from a public place. Unless there's something in them you don't want people to see. The judge looked back and forth between the photos and his office door. This is all fake, he shouted. A trick to take me down. Like the trick to make Mrs. Evelyn's files vanish? Bondi asked. Or the trick to hide things in the Williams case last month? Those cases are sealed, the judge yelled. His voice was shaky now. You're not allowed to. Actually, Bondi said, as Attorney General, I am allowed to look into bad behavior by judges. Especially when it looks like someone is trying to hurt people from one side. The judge's face turned white. You've been investigating me? Not just you, Your Honor, Bondi said. She put another photo on the table. Would you like to tell the court why 6 other judges were with you at that garage meeting? Judge Harrison's hand shook as he grabbed his water glass. This is not okay. You can't use this stuff in court. You can't hide things that are already part of federal evidence, Bondi replied. In fact, she added, everything happening in this courtroom is being recorded and sent straight to the Department of Justice. The judge's eyes jumped from person to person. He looked like he wanted to run away. The Department of Justice? You can't investigate a judge like me without permission. Bondi held up another paper. We got permission 3 months ago. That's when we saw something strange was going on with your cases. This is a setup, the judge yelled. You're just doing this because of politics. I'm a federal judge. You can't. Can't what? Bondi said. Can't show that you've been hiding evidence? That you've been working with other judges to go after certain people? Lies? The judge screamed. Spit flew from his mouth. You have no proof. Actually, Bondi said calmly, we have your own words. The judge froze. Every time you scared a witness, every time you told someone to destroy papers, every meeting in that garage, recorded? Recorded? The judge asked, stunned. Yes, Bondi said. Your own cameras. Your own phone. Your own name on the documents you thought were hidden. She put another file on the table. Would you like to hear the recording where you told your clerk to shred Mrs. Evelyn's papers? The clerk, who was still sitting at her desk, suddenly started crying. He made me do it, she said, wiping her tears. He said he'd ruin my job if I didn't stay quiet. Judge Harrison shouted, but people were no longer listening to him. His hands were shaking a lot as he tried to grab his hammer. None of this matters, he yelled. I order all these papers to be locked away and destroyed right now. Your Honor, Bondi said, her voice strong and sharp. It made Harrison feel scared. Do you want to tell the court why you're so eager to destroy the evidence? Harrison stood up. His judge robe was messy and he looked scared and upset. I won't let this happen, he shouted. Officers, I'm giving you one last order. Arrest Miss Bondi and take those papers. But then a new voice came from the back of the room. Actually, Your Honor, the voice said, the only person being arrested today is you. Everyone in the courtroom turned to look. A group of FBI agents was walking down the aisle. Their shiny badges sparkled in the lights. No, Harrison yelled, stepping back. You can't arrest me. I'm protected. I know important people. Don't you know who I am? Oh, we know exactly who you are, the lead FBI agent said, walking toward the judge. We also know what you did in the biggest judge cheating scandal in a long time. This can't be real, Harrison said, looking around in panic. He looked toward his office. This is all a mistake. I can explain everything. The foundation made me do it. They know secrets about everyone. If I talk. He stopped suddenly, realizing he had said too much. The foundation? Bondi asked, her voice cutting through the silence. Do you mean the same foundation that sent $100,000 to your secret bank account after every conservative person you ruled against? You planned this. Harrison pointed at Bondi with a shaking finger. This was all a trap. No, Your Honor, Bondi said calmly. You trapped yourself. We just let you show everyone what kind of person you really are. No. Harrison shouted and jumped toward the papers on Bondi's table. But the FBI agents grabbed him quickly and stopped him. I am the law, he screamed. You can't arrest me. I am the law. No, Your Honor, Bondi said as the handcuffs clicked onto his wrists. You were supposed to serve the law. But you broke it. Now real justice will happen. As the FBI agents held on to Harrison, Bondi turned to the lead FBI agent. Agent Roberts, you should move fast to the other places we talked about. Other places? Harrison looked up quickly. What other places? The 7 other court buildings where your bad judge friends are working right now, Bondi said. You didn't really think we were only going to catch you, did you? Harrison's face turned pale. You can't. Can't what? Bondi asked. Do big raids at all the bad judges' offices at the same time. She looked at her watch. They're already happening. People in the courtroom started whispering. Harrison fell to his knees, feeling weak. You don't know what you've done, he whispered. These people, their power. Their power ends today, Bondi said firmly. Every secret bank account, every locked file, every unfair ruling, it's all coming out now. Harrison looked around the room in panic. But the foundation, they won't let this. You mean the foundation whose leaders are all being arrested right now? Bondi raised an eyebrow. Harrison's legs gave out, and the FBI agents had to hold him up so he didn't fall. This can't be happening, he mumbled. Actually, Your Honor, Bondi said, holding up her phone. It showed news reports about FBI raids happening all over the country. It already has. As the agents led Harrison toward the door, he turned back to Bondi one last time. You think this changes anything? He said angrily. There will always be more people like me. You can't stop all of us. You're right about one thing, Bondi said loudly so everyone could hear. There will always be people who use power in the wrong way. But there will also always be people brave enough to stop them. That's what makes our justice system work, not the bad people like you, but the good people who stand up and fight for what's right. After that day, everything changed quickly. Harrison's arrest started lots of other investigations. The group of bad judges began to fall apart as more proof came out and more people told the truth. Every case that the bad judges had hidden away was being looked at again. Many people who had been treated unfairly, especially conservative ones, finally saw justice. Mrs. Evelyn's case was dropped right away. The new judge looked at all the facts that Harrison tried to hide and said there was no reason for her to be charged. Because in the end, justice doesn't belong to those who cheat and lie. It belongs to the people who are brave enough to tell the truth and stand up for what's right. If you like this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.